Okay, we have a theme going tonight. We have beautiful Celtic music, and I decided tonight that I was going to talk about the 4 gifts of spirit, but as told through Celtic folklore. Now something I don't think anybody here knows but my mom, I studied with a Celtic shaman for many years. They're actually Celtic shaman. And what I found was that the Celtic folk tales, the folklore, the mythology just really resonated with me. And so I thought talking about the hero's journey, everybody knows the hero's journey as Joseph Campbell speaks of it. Everybody knows that Star Wars is about the hero's journey. But in Celtic folklore, when somebody was ready to step into their destiny, when they were ready to be transformed, become the next brightest version of themselves, they had to travel to 4 fairy cities to receive a gift. Now I want to tell you real quick here, when fairy, in Celtic terminology, fairy does not mean a little tiny flower fairy like Tinkerbell. A fairy can also be an evil horse that tricks you into riding it, and then you can't get off of it, and it goes deep into the water and drowns you. A fairy can be a troll. Fairies can be scary. They can also be beautiful. Like in the movie Lord of the Rings, the fairies could be like the elves and live in beautiful cities like Rivendell or Lothlorien. In fact, the 4 fairy cities that I'll be talking about, you can kind of imagine that's what they're like, just these beautiful cities. And so the traveler would go to these 4 cities to receive their gifts, the gifts of the Spirit. Now, I'm just talking about 4 gifts. We know we have an infinite abundance of gifts. But I feel like when you get these 4 gifts down, I know that when I'm like really remembering them, things just seem to work better in life. So we'll start our journey. The first fairy city is Findius, and it's in, is that east? No. That's east, right? Can somebody tell me where east is?
It's that way.
It's that way. Okay, east. So there we have Findius. And in this city of Findius, which because it's in the east, it's the element of air, and Findius is the gift of the sword of Nuada. And Gilman sang a song about the sword tonight. Now the sword of Nuada was a very special sword. Nuada, when he was a young warrior fighting in the war against the trolls, he was being attacked by all these trolls. 100 trolls attacked him, but they could not get past the sword. So it is known as the sword that nothing can stand against. Not even 100 trolls, okay? Now swords, symbolically, they do things like they cut through the confusion to reveal the truth. They cut away what is no longer needed. The sword actually represents our thoughts. Our thoughts. And in fact, the premise of New Thought, thought is so important. It's on the sign in the doorway in the West, coming in. Change your thinking, change your life. Thoughts are things. Now our thoughts allow us to use our imagination. This is a very important step in the creative process, because the first step in the creative process is to get an incredible amount of clarity on what it is we want to create. Oh, we think about things all day long, but we're not consciously thinking about what we want to create. We're thinking about our problems, or the problems of the world, or the problems of our friends. We're thinking about all kinds of things, not just our desired outcome. Now, the imagination is so important because it's with our imagination that we build in divine mind a template or a pattern for what it is we want to create. Everything has to be created twice. We create first in divine mind, where substance is, the creative substance of everything is in divine mind. So we build it first in divine mind. and we pour energy into it. And once it hits a tipping point, it will manifest in our life. But we're busy creating all kinds of templates that appear in Divine Mind. We may be thinking about our desired outcome, so here we build the template. But then we start thinking about, something we're struggling with, and something our friend is struggling with, and pretty soon we have all these little templates going up. So the gift of this sword is that we cut away what is no longer needed. We cut away the limitation. We focus on just what we want to create. That's what's available to us. Now, remember, nothing can stand against the sword, not even 100 trolls. Nothing can stand against us either. There are no opposing forces in Source. There are no opposing forces because Source is all things, and it's the substance of all things. It's everything we see. It's everything yet to be, which means nothing can oppose it, which means nothing can oppose us. Now, we may have a perceived challenge, but because everything is source energy, a solution can be revealed through that challenge. We just have to cut away anything keeping us from seeing that. The solution will be revealed. So the gift of the sword is remembering there are no opposing forces. Nothing can stand against us. Nothing. Okay, so we go from the east. So that would be the south. Yes? I'm like so turned around here. Okay, so now we go to the south, the city of Gorius. Element of fire. In the city of Gorius, this is where the spear of Lu is. Now Lu is a warrior in the story, but he goes on to become a high king. Lu has a spear, and in the Battle of the Trolls, Lu can hit his target with a spear every time he throws it, because his focus is so intense. His target could go over a hill, through the woods, and across an ocean, and yet he could still hit it. He could still hit his target. Now, metaphorically, this is about our intensity of focus onto our desired outcome. Now, this is where will comes in. Now, I used to think of will as willpower. And willpower, having willpower is hard, because we're trying to force something to happen. And Ernest Holmes describes it in a way that makes me laugh every time I read it in the textbook. He says, trying to use willpower is like trying to get something out of a bag that's not in the bag. Isn't that good? That's a good example. We're not trying to worry about willpower. We don't even want to think about willpower. We want to think about our will. And our will is a directive force to get our focus back on our target, which is our desired outcome, that maybe its appearance is not in our life yet. Now, sometimes we can get distracted because we want this desired outcome. We're thinking about it. We're doing affirmative prayer about it. But then we look and it's like not here in our life yet. Well, that's what the will is for, to get us to focus on creating that first in Divine Mind, in the realm of substance. Because our focus will help us pour all that energy into it so it has a tipping point so it can land in our physical reality. So the gift of the sword, or the gift of the spirit, is that we have an intense focus. We have this gift of will. So even if our target is not present in our life, if it's not here where we can see it, it's over a hill and through the woods and across the ocean, we can still hit our target. Then we go to the west, the city of Murius. In the west, that's the element of water. Are you digging this totally, Ellen?
Yeah.
All the symbols. I knew it. So in the west, we have Murius, and the gift in the city of Murius is the chalice of the Father God, sometimes called the Cauldron of the Father God. Now, in this battle of with the giant trolls, there were many warriors wounded, and killed. But if they were wounded or killed, they could drink from this chalice and they would be healed. But they would not only be healed, they would be abundant and they would be more vital than ever. And they could not drink from this cup and not have a ton of things to be grateful for. And so that's the gift of the chalice. We can't drink from it without experiencing a tremendous amount of gratitude. Now, the power of gratitude, people talk about the power of gratitude, and I used to think it was like, oh, come on, what's gratitude gonna do? I want to shoot flames from my fingers, you know? I didn't think gratitude was that important. Gratitude can actually be a catalyst for our transformation, because when we really get into the feeling of gratitude, especially by speaking out loud our desired outcome, when we have affirmative prayer done, or we're just being appreciative, but speak those words out loud, describe your outcome exactly as it will be once it's made manifest. We will be filled with these feelings of joy and happiness about that. Especially when we start off. I am so happy and grateful. I'm so happy and grateful that, and go into a description of it. Now, our thoughts create the divine template. Our focus helps us pour energy into that particular template to stay focused on our target. Our feelings are the attractive force for our experience. Our feelings are how we're communicating with the universe. The universe feels our feelings and gives us more of the same feelings to feel, to have in our experience. That's why if we feel victimized, we get more victimized in our experience. If we feel gratitude, we get more to be grateful for. All right, so we're pouring our feelings into this desired outcome. We're focused on it. But see, when we amp that up with gratitude, we amp up the feelings. We amp up the amount of energy going into the desired outcome. So gratitude helps us to increase the good feelings that we have. It helps us to increase feeling good, feeling as if about our desired outcome, instead of the alternative, which we will go to all the time, which is feeling the lack of our desired outcome. Feeling like, is it really going to happen? Worrying about if we'll be capable of doing it. Okay, the gratitude keeps us on focus, connected to our desired outcome. So that's the gift of the chalice, amping up our feelings instead of dwelling in the lack feelings. And now we go to the north. The city of Phallius is in the north, which is the element of earth. The gift in the city of Phallius is the stone of destiny, also known as the Leah Fail. Now, in the old days, when Ireland used to have a high king, and when it was time for a new high king, the man who wanted this job, of course, he would have to stand on the Leah Fail, the stone of destiny. It was a big stone. He would stand on it in front of all his subjects, or his soon-to-be subjects. The stone would cry out if he was a fake, or if he was the true high king.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the stone would roar. It would roar out the truth about him. Now, what happened when a man stood on the stone and it was indeed true that he was the high king, he knew for sure then that he was meant to be high king. None of this worrying, well, I wonder if I should be doing this or not. He just stood on a stone and shouted out that he was the king. So he believed it. And so he stepped into that new position, into that job, with full confidence that he was meant to be there. Meant to be there. So he knew without a shadow of a doubt that he was meant to be the king. His people knew without a shadow of a doubt that he was meant to be king. And this made him a better king, because he had the awareness of the truth that he was a king named by the higher forces. So he knew. Now, how would you feel if you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that whatever you wanted to create was ordained by higher forces?
Yes.
That you were indeed meant to create that life. That this force shouted out the truth about you. If it roared out that yes, you're an infinite being made to create, you would just be like, okay, that's how it is.
I know.
I accept the position, thank you. Now, there are a lot of disruptive forces in our life. There may be people around us who will say things like, I don't know, that thing you want to do, that could be really hard. Are you sure that you're smart enough to do that? Are you sure that you drive the right car? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Planting those seeds of doubt in us. I want to read something, though, that Ernest Holmes wrote in The Creative Mind and Success, page 3. Creative Mind and Success. Man is a center of God in God. Whatever God is in the universal, man must be in the individual world. The difference between God and man is one of degree and not quality. Degree.
Wow.
The difference between God and man is size. Our size. Man is made out of God. We are made from God. We are a divine expression of the divine. We're made of that same stuff. We all just look different in appearance. That's it. But we're still all source energy walking around in a body. So someone could say to us, when we're talking about our dream, that maybe we don't have what it takes. But there's that within us that knows the truth about us and is constantly compelling us to act on that truth. There's never a moment source within us is not compelling us to act on the truth that we are an infinite being in a body. Always, in all ways. There's a term I want to share just because it's kind of fun. It's called anamnesis. I believe Plato said it. But it means remembering ancient wisdom you forgot you knew.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever had the experience where you're learning something and you're like, wow, I already knew that, but I didn't know I knew that? There's divine working through us all the time. We're receiving wisdom and information all the time. So you are ordained in your life to create as Source creates in the universal. You're ordained to do the same exact thing in the individual. So the gift from the city, okay, of the stone of truth, of destiny, is awareness and understanding and accepting the truth. Accepting the truth that we are each a divine being in a body. So with these 4 gifts, and I know you could go home and write out another list of 100 other gifts, but these 4 gifts are thoughts. We use our thoughts to create in our imagination the life we would love to live. And then we use our focus and our will to zero in on that target, even if it's not made an appearance in our life yet, even if it's over the hill and through the woods and across the ocean. We use gratitude as a way to amp up all those good feelings. Because we amp up our good feelings, man, we are amping up all that energy being poured into our divine pattern. And then we step into that awareness that we are designed to create a life we love. We're actually designed. We're designed to create a life we love. And we already have everything we need to make it so. Because it's within us. It knows what to do, how to do it, and it compels us to act on what it knows. So I love this story. You see, even our ancestors, way before New Thought was born, our ancestors knew the power of transformation and expanding our consciousness. There's that within us that not even 100 trolls can oppose. There's that within us that allows us to always hit our target. There's that within us that helps us overflow with gratitude. And there's that within us that knows the truth of us always. That we're made in the image of our Creator, and there is no end to the possibilities available to us. No end. So until next time, remember, you are a divine creation of a loving Creator, and you are a force for good. And so we say, and so it is. Thank you.